Why preferring solitude doesn't mean disliking people. In a world that celebrates constant connection, choosing solitude is often misunderstood. People mistake the desire to be alone for bitterness or disdain, as if seeking quiet is a rejection of others. But solitude is not born from hatred. It's a refuge for those who crave depth in a world obsessed with noise. There is nothing inherently noble in avoiding people, just as there is nothing inherently wrong in seeking company. The difference lies in what the soul truly longs for. Some find comfort in crowds, while others seek the kind of conversations that strip away pretense and touch the essence of what it means to be human. Small talk may fill the air, but it rarely fills the heart. For those who prefer solitude, social interactions often feel like an endless performance, a surface dance where energy is given, but little is ever returned. This preference is not a flaw, but a quiet rebellion against the shallow. To choose solitude is to choose preservation, to guard one's energy rather than scatter it among conversations that offer little meaning. The mind that values depth does not reject people, but the emptiness that often accompanies their presence. There is power in being alone, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. The world may not understand this choice, but the Stoics remind us the greatest conversations are often the ones we have with ourselves. Trust is the foundation of all human connection, fragile, slow to build, and easily shattered. Those who have known betrayal carry its weight long after the moment has passed. A broken promise, a hidden lie, or the sting of abandonment leave scars not easily seen but deeply felt. These wounds make the heart cautious, not cold. To trust again is to offer a piece of yourself. A vulnerability that once betrayed feels like a risk too great to take. The mind becomes sharp, scanning every word and gesture for signs of deception. What others might dismiss as harmless, those with trust issues see as warnings. A delayed reply, a forced smile, or a subtle shift in tone. Each becomes a red flag, added quietly to a mental ledger. Imagine a hand once burned by fire. It doesn't refuse warmth. It simply learns to approach with care. This caution is not bitterness, but wisdom born from pain. The selective nature of those with trust issues is not a rejection of connection, but a silent act of self-preservation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When the mind has been stained by betrayal, it learns to guard itself. But even the most guarded heart still longs to trust. The challenge is not shutting the world out entirely, but finding those rare souls who prove, through patience and consistency, that they are worth the risk. To be selective is not weakness. It is the quiet strength of one who refuses to let past wounds define their future. How social anxiety traps the mind in fear. Social anxiety is not simply shyness. It is a battle fought in silence. What others see as casual conversations can feel like walking a tightrope above a crowd, every word measured, every movement scrutinized. The fear is not just of saying the wrong thing, but of being seen and judged for who you are. Before the interaction begins, the mind is already at war, replaying imagined scenarios, preparing for every possible misstep. A simple greeting feels like a test. A moment of silence stretches into humiliation. The anxiety doesn't end when the conversation does. Long after others have forgotten the exchange, you dissect every word, convinced you revealed something flawed or foolish. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But social anxiety makes this power difficult to grasp. The more you avoid interactions, the more the fear grows. What begins as discomfort becomes a prison, each missed opportunity reinforcing the belief that you're not capable of connection. Imagine a door locked from the inside. The key is always within reach, yet fear convinces you to leave it untouched. The first step toward freedom is not confidence, it is courage. Small acts, like holding eye contact or speaking a few words, weaken the chains. With each effort, the mind begins to learn that judgment is often softer than fear suggests. Healing from social anxiety is a slow unfolding, a practice in patience and self-compassion. The world is not waiting to condemn you. It is far too busy with its own concerns. To engage with others, even imperfectly, is not a risk of failure, but a quiet act of bravery. Each step, no matter how small, is proof that fear is not the ruler of your life. You are. How low self-esteem traps you in isolation. Self-doubt is a quiet enemy, not seen, but deeply felt. It whispers that you are not interesting enough, not worthy of attention, not deserving of connection. The tragedy is not simply believing these thoughts, but how easily they become a prison built by your own mind. When you enter a room, the mind begins its cruel work. Every glance feels like judgment, every silence like rejection. You replay conversations, dissecting each word for flaws no one else noticed. With time, this self-criticism pushes you to retreat, not because you dislike people, but because you fear how they might see you. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But low self-esteem makes this first step feel impossible. How can you become what you desire when you do not believe you are enough as you are? The more you withdraw, the more distant others seem, and the more distant others seem, the harder it becomes to re-engage. Imagine a plant kept in the dark. It does not wither because it is weak, but because it has been denied the sunlight it needs to grow. Self-doubt works the same way. It is not a reflection of your worth, but a symptom of how long you've hidden yourself away. The cure is not to wait for confidence to appear. It is to step into the light despite the fear. The world is rarely as harsh a judge as the mind makes it seem. Every small interaction, a kind word, a shared smile, is a crack in the walls you've built. The path out of isolation is not taken in leaps, but in steady, patient steps. Even the smallest effort to engage with the world is an act of quiet rebellion against the voice that says, "You don't belong." Why avoiding the wrong people is an act of self-respect. Not all company is good company. The Stoics understood that the quality of those we surround ourselves with shapes the quality of our lives. Spending time with the wrong people does not simply waste time. It drains the mind, weakens the spirit, and clouds the soul. There is a silent burden in the presence of those who speak only to hear their own voice or who thrive on gossip and complaint. What begins as conversation quickly turns into emotional labor, an unseen tax on your energy. You leave such encounters not uplifted, but depleted. This is the cost of sharing space with those who demand attention without offering anything in return. Seneca once warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." True connection should nourish, not exhaust. Yet many tolerate draining company out of obligation or fear of loneliness, forgetting that solitude is far less harmful than the wrong crowd. Imagine a still lake disturbed by constant ripples, never given a chance to reflect the sky above. The mind, too, need stillness to think clearly. The wrong people stir the waters, leaving behind nothing but noise and agitation. To walk away is not selfishness, but self-respect. Choosing who you allow into your life is one of the highest acts of wisdom. Better to be alone in peace than surrounded in chaos. A quiet room holds more value than a crowded one filled with empty words. Those who seek a life of depth must learn that saying no to the wrong company is saying yes to themselves. Solitude, a quiet act of self-honor. Choosing solitude is not an act of rejection. It is an act of self-honor. In a world that glorifies constant connection, stepping away is often seen as weakness. But the Stoics knew that time alone is where the mind finds its greatest clarity. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the soil where wisdom and creativity quietly take root. A sculptor must retreat from the noise of the world to shape his masterpiece. The same is true for the mind. In stillness, you confront your own thoughts, unfiltered, without distraction. This space allows you to understand yourself better, to ask the difficult questions most avoid. But even the greatest thinkers knew that solitude must be balanced. Too much isolation can harden the soul, turning refuge into prison. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Man is not meant to be alone, but neither is he meant to lose himself in the crowd." True strength lies in walking between these two worlds, knowing when to step back and when to step forward. Solitude is not about hiding from others, but about returning to them stronger, more centered, and with something valuable to share. If you find peace in solitude, honor it, but do not let it become an escape from life itself. Use this time to cultivate your mind, protect your energy, and create something meaningful. And when you're ready to step back into the world, do so with quiet confidence. At Wisdom Vault 365, we explore timeless philosophies to help you navigate life with clarity and purpose. If this message resonates with you, consider joining our journey, where solitude is not isolation, but a path to self-mastery.